Genital herpes penis. What is genital herpes penis? Genital herpes is a sexually transmitted disease, STD, caused by the herpes simplex virus type 1, HSV1, or type 2, HSV2. How common is genital herpes? Genital herpes infection is common in the United States. CDC estimates that, annually, 776,000 people in the United States get new genital herpes infections, one nationwide. 11.9% of persons aged 14 to 49 years have HSV2 infection, 12.1% when adjusted for age. 2 However, the prevalence of genital herpes infection is higher than that because an increasing number of genital herpes infections are caused by HSV1. 3 Oral HSV1 infection is typically acquired in childhood, because the prevalence of oral HSV1 infection has declined in recent decades. People may have become more susceptible to contracting a genital herpes infection from HSV1. 4. HSV2 infection is more common among women than among men. The percentages of those infected during 2015 to 2016 were 15.9% versus 8.2% respectively, among 14 to 49-year-olds. 2. This is possibly because genital infection is more easily transmitted from men to women than from women to men during penile vaginal sex. 5. HSV2 infection is more common among non-Hispanic blacks, 34.6%, than among non-Hispanic whites, 8.1%. 2. A previous analysis found that these disparities exist even among persons with similar numbers of lifetime sexual partners. Most infected persons may be unaware of their infection. In the United States, an estimated 87.4% of 14 to 49-year-olds infected with HSV2 have never received a clinical diagnosis. 6. The age-adjusted percentage of persons in the United States infected with HSV2 decreased from 18.0% in 1999-2000 to 12.1% in 2015 to 2016. 2. How do people get genital herpes? Infections are transmitted through contact with HSV in herpes lesions, mucosal surfaces, genital secretions, or oral secretions. 5. HSV1 and HSV2 can be shed from normal-appearing oral or genital mucosa or skin. 7. 8. Generally, a person can only get HSV2 infection during genital contact with someone who has a genital HSV2 infection. However, receiving oral sex from a person with an oral HSV1 infection can result in getting a genital HSV1 infection. 4. Transmission commonly occurs from contact with an infected partner who does not have visible lesions and who may not know that he or she is infected. 7. In persons with asymptomatic HSV2 infections, genital HSV shedding occurs on 10.2% of days, compared to 20.1% of days among those with symptomatic infections. 8. What are the symptoms of genital herpes? Most individuals infected with HSV are asymptomatic or have very mild symptoms that go unnoticed or are mistaken for another skin condition. 9. When symptoms do occur, herpes lesions typically appear as one or more vesicles, or small blisters, on or around the genitals, rectum, or mouth. The average incubation period for an initial herpes infection is 4 days, range 2 to 12. After exposure. 10. The vesicles break and leave painful ulcers that may take 2 to 4 weeks to heal after the initial herpes infection. 5. 10. Experiencing these symptoms is referred to as having a first herpes outbreak or episode. Clinical manifestations of genital herpes differ between the first and recurrent, i.e., subsequent, outbreaks. The first outbreak of herpes is often associated with a longer duration of herpetic lesions, increased viral shedding, making HSV transmission more likely, and systemic symptoms including fever, body aches, swollen lymph nodes, or headache. 5. 10 recurrent outbreaks of genital herpes are common, and many patients who recognize recurrences have prodromal symptoms, either localized genital pain, or tingling or shooting pains in the legs, hips or buttocks, which occur hours to days before the eruption of herpetic lesions. 5 symptoms of recurrent outbreaks are typically shorter in duration and less severe than the first outbreak of genital herpes. 5 long-term studies have indicated that the number of symptomatic recurrent outbreaks may decrease over time. 5 recurrences and subclinical shedding are much less frequent for genital HSV-1 infection than for genital HSV-2 infection. 5. Genital herpes penis. Thank you for watching and please subscribe to my channel.